Good Saturday morning. This is Dr. McDaniel at GYN Corner, all things health related for women. I'm a gynecologist in New York City, Midtown Manhattan, and today, as the title reflected, I'll be speaking on pain tolerance with air quotes. I'm at the horse farm. It's Saturday. The girls take riding lessons every Saturday for about the last 8 years, and I'm a little later than usual this morning. We get here at a little before 8 because our lessons are 8 to 8:30 and 8:30 to 9, and I'm starting a little later than usual. I'll show Joy. Jill did her lesson already. We've got 2 people out here today. Usually we're the only ones here at 8, but now it's 8:30, so we've got a few more people out here at the farm. So as I said, this is Thoughts on Pain Tolerance, and I labeled it Thoughts on Pain Tolerance because I've had a lot of people telling me over the last couple of months that I have a high pain tolerance. Actually, it's been for a few years. I have 4 children. I had all of them natural deliveries, no epidural, no pain medicine, no shots, nothing. I just did, I have allergies today. I just did the Lamaze breathing. And I've had lots of people telling me how I have such a high pain tolerance. How could I have 4 kids with no pain medicine? And then recently, I broke my arm. I have the presentations I did in June for about 2 weeks. Those presentations I did in Europe, England, and then through mainland Europe down to Italy. I did those presentations on the day of our arrival. I was transferring our bags on the tube, and while I was transferring the bags, I wasn't paying attention, and my left leg fell in the gap on the London tube. Of course, every 5 minutes they're telling you to mind the gap. So of course, very day of our arrival, I don't mind the gap, and I fell in the gap. And I guess because I was falling, I reached out, as most people will do, to catch myself. And the fall, unbeknownst to me at the time, because my inner thigh hit the edge of the train as I fell down, it was about a foot wide, about 10 to 12 inch gap. And with the fall, I ripped my hamstring. Obviously, I didn't know it at the time, but I had about an orange size, a 6 centimeter or an orange size rip in my hamstring. My hamstring ripped off of its attachment and filled with blood. That was very painful. And because I reached out to try to catch myself, just instincts, of course, you fall, you're going to reach out to try to catch yourself. When I did that, I didn't know it at the time, but I broke my arm and I ripped a ligament in my shoulder. So the upper part of my arm and the ball of my shoulder, I have a big crack and a shatter, like the ball is partially shattered, and there's a big crack in the upper part of the arm. And I ripped the ligament that attaches the ball to the socket. So all of that drama occurred on the day of our arrival, when we were transferring from one train to the next train. So I sat for about 15 to 20 minutes crying at the station where we transferred off of the initial train that I fell. But when I fell in the gap, a couple of men standing by me, they helped me. Like I fell and then I just couldn't move. I was just in a plume of pain and in shock, I guess. I just fell and I plopped on the floor with my leg in the gap and I couldn't move. So quickly, two men helped me, pulled me up, literally pulled me up by my armpits. Pulled me up by my armpits, helped me off the train to get on the platform. And then when I got on the platform, I sat at the seats on the bench for about 15 to 20 minutes crying because the pain was just overwhelming. So I was crying, and then I got up. We transferred to the other train that we were on, transferring to, and we continued about another 10 minutes to get to the station where we transferred to our hotel. So we had 2 weeks ahead of us for our lessons, and I didn't go to the emergency room or to any kind of urgent care because we were in England, and naturally, because it's my nature, I did not get traveler's insurance. And because I didn't get traveler's insurance, I was like, I'm not going to pay thousands of dollars for what I figured, for what I thought at the time was just a pulled ligament or something. So I thought, I'm not going to pay thousands of dollars. I'm not going to pay thousands of dollars just for them to tell me I have a pulled ligament. So I did not go to see a physician, continued the activities even though I was in a lot of pain. We did all of our activities. The day after I fell in the gap, we went to St. Paul's Cathedral. The lift was out, so I ended up walking up to the top of the cathedral, which was like up to the top and to the base to go to the lookout, and that ended up being almost 700 steps. We walked around London, did a bunch of sightseeing, and we took the train down to Italy, to Venice. And by the time we got to Venice, my leg was having issues. It was swelling, so I bought some elastic bandages, tied up my ankle. Ok, donc demande Nina, demande le papier, tu peux le remplir et mets ça dans mon sac. Okay, sorry. So, I wrapped up my ankle and leg, and I was started to slow down in Venice. I didn't walk as much as I would have, but we continued the trip. When I got home, the following day, I went to work the following day because I got home Sunday. I went to work Monday, and after work I went to urgent care. I told them I needed an x-ray of my shoulder and my knee because I'd fallen, blah blah blah. So when it was a physician's assistant, she came back with a report for me from the radiologist. She goes, oh my God, you must have a really high pain tolerance because you've been walking around for 2 weeks with a broken shoulder. I said, okay. I said, I thought I had just pulled a muscle or maybe ligament. I said, is it a hairline fracture? She goes, no, it's not a hairline fracture. It's a big crack in your shoulder and the ball of your shoulder. You have a huge break in your shoulder. She's like, you're supposed to see an orthopedic surgeon, have to splint it and check, blah, blah, blah. So she went into all this. She goes, God, I can't believe you're walking around like that. You must have a really high pain tolerance, because most people, they're coming here crying and moaning, limping, and they have pretty much nothing. She's like, well, I don't want to say nothing, but it's kind of nothing. She goes, and you came in here just like fine, normal, chatting, smiling, and you're walking around with a broken shoulder. I said, okay. 2 days later, I had to get a sono of my leg because, of course, it was still really swollen. If I didn't have... Okay, Jill told me the woman wasn't here, but she is here. She didn't see her to pay for the lessons today. If I don't have my leg tied up with elastic bandage, it gets really swollen. So I had a sonogram, and that's when they told me I had ripped my hamstring. They're like, oh, that's why your leg is so tender and swollen. You have a 6 centimeter, which is like an orange size, rip. Your hamstring is ripped, and it's all filled with blood. Okay. So, of course, when I told some friends and colleagues and such, they're like, oh, my God, you have a high pain tolerance. That's crazy. I can't believe you walked around for 2 weeks. And so I started thinking about what's a high pain. I go, I was in a lot of pain. Each of those deliveries for each of those kids was really painful. But I just did the breathing, and I just focused on the breathing for the contractions. It worked, but it was painful. And when I broke my arm and ripped that muscle, it was really, really painful. Like, I just sat there. Of course, I don't cry. I don't cry like that. So I just was like, I was crying really silently. And my mother kept going, are you okay, Barbara? Are you okay? I said, no, I'm in pain. And of course, it was 5 weeks ago, I've been in pain every day for the last 5 weeks. 1 second. Elle est là, Jill. Elle est sur la machine là, le tracteur là. Elle s'est assise là. Juste dis bonjour, comment ça va? Donne la carte. Dis bonjour à elle. Elle est là. Tu le sais. Pourquoi pas? Non, pas à cause de moi. Pourquoi est-ce que tu parles? Allez, va-t'en. Donne la carte. Dis bonjour, comment ça va? Je dois payer pour moi et Joy. C'est $90. Tu vas toujours payer. Hey, ne sois pas si timide.
Je suis pas timide,
si.
Je peux le faire.
Va-t'en et le paye. T'as 5 minutes. Okay, so I've been thinking about pain tolerance and how people respond to pain. And I know when I was a resident at Bellevue Hospital, we used to say the Chinese patients had a high pain tolerance. They'd come in, the ones from China, and they wouldn't be writhing, all the drama. They'd be really quiet, and you wouldn't know they were in labor unless you checked them. You wouldn't know if they were 1 centimeter or fully dilated, because they were so good with the pain. So since all of this has happened, I've been thinking, what do people mean by high pain tolerance? Because when someone says high pain tolerance to me, it sounds like they're saying, oh, it takes a lot for you to be in pain. The same amount of pain I feel feels a lot worse to me than it feels to you. And I beg to differ. High pain, people think if you have a high pain tolerance, it means that you're not in pain for the same things they feel because you don't act the same way they do. And that's not what it is. High pain tolerance just means that you respond to the same degree of pain differently than the next person. God is not a respect of persons. He wouldn't make labor pains for one person worse than it is for the next person, or labor pains for one group of people worse than it is for the next group of people. A lot of the Latinas, when they came into L&D at Bellevue Hospital, they'd be screaming and writhing, and they'd only be literally 2 or 3 centimeters. A long ways to go, not even in actual active labor. Why would God make the Latinas have more pain than the Chinese, or the Indians more pain than the Africans? That's not how it works. Why would a broken arm for one person, God would make that person feel the pain worse than the next person? That's not what happens. I refuse to believe that. I was in a lot of pain, but in my mind, I know that screaming and writhing and acting out is not going to help the pain lessen. It's actually going to focus on it, and it's going to make it feel even more magnified. One of the people I like to follow is Tim Robbins, and he always says, where attention goes, energy flows. So if you focus on negativity, all your energy is going to negativity, it's going to manifest it more. If you focus on positivity, all your energy is going to positivity, it's going to magnify it more. And it's very true for labor and delivery. When I was in labor with my first child, I had done deliveries for over 10 years. About 10 years. Let me think for a second. No, a little over 10 years. And I know labor pain is painful. You don't have to, it's not a revelation for me. I know it's painful. But I was shocked. I remember just saying over and over again, oh my God, I'm flabbergasted. That pain was heinous. It was really painful. But I just started doing the Lamaze breathing because I didn't want an epidural. I was at home. I did the Lamaze breathing, and I remember for about maybe 30 seconds with my first child, I just stopped the breathing. I go, oh my God, I'm going crazy, because you feel like you're literally, like the pain's coming from inside. You can't escape it. And I literally felt like I was losing my mind. I was going to go insane. And when I stopped the breathing, I said, oh my God, I'm going crazy. The pain was worse. It like all of a sudden just shot up. And I said, oh, no. And then I clamped it down and I started focusing on the breathing, and the pain went down. Now it was still painful, but instead of the pain being right in front of my face, like mocking me and making me go nuts, it was just off to the corner and manageable. So it brought it home to me that if I'm in pain, I cannot focus on that pain, or I will be in trouble. I have to defocus off of it. I have to breathe, and I have to just keep going, or the pain will definitely be worse. So when I broke my arm and ripped that muscle, I was in excruciating pain. I mean, I was just like, I was almost paralyzed with the pain. It was bad. But I didn't scream. Screaming gets you nowhere unless you just want attention. Screaming doesn't help the pain. It makes it worse. And you're making a spectacle of yourself. So what's the point? So I was crying, and I just cried really quietly. I tried to breathe, and then I said, I can't sit on this bench at the train station forever. We have to get to our hotel. So I got to the hotel, and I planned for this trip for a year. It was to celebrate my mother's 70th birthday this year, and my birthday at 50. So I said, I mean, it wasn't even a question. I have to continue the trip. I can't let an accident ruin a trip that I planned and paid for a year. I'm not going home early, and I'm not going to end up on top of the thousands upon thousands of dollars that I spent on that trip. We rode the Orient Express train down from London to Venice, and the return from Venice to London. That Orient Express train is horribly expensive. So I wasn't going to let that ruin a year's worth of planning and all that money. So I just persevered, and I said, when I get home, I'll sort it out. But as long as I can move. Now, of course, I could not move my broken arm. I could move my hand, and I could move it up to the elbow. And I can't raise my left arm. It's just, I can't do it right now. I can move it and I can work because I can move my hand, but I can't raise the arm. So I'm trying to do some little physical therapy to get my arm together slowly, since it's been 5 weeks. But it started to annoy me that everyone kept saying I had such a high pain threshold, such a high pain threshold. And it was almost like they were minimizing the pain. Oh, you did it because you don't feel pain at the same level. No, I do feel pain at the same level everyone else feels. If I prick my finger with a needle, it hurts. If I trip and twist my ankle, it hurts. If I drop something on my foot, it hurts. I stub my toe, it hurts. But how I respond to the pain is not the same as the next person. Everyone responds to I'm going to say to, I don't want to say actions, stimuli. Everyone responds to stimuli differently. And for me, I'm not going to respond screaming. I mean, the worst pain is labor pain. I've done it 4 times, and I don't respond screaming. I respond, I know how to respond. I respond breathing, and it makes it manageable. And when I broke my arm and ripped my hamstring, what's the point in screaming? I cried, but I cried quietly, and I breathed, and I said, okay, I have to keep moving. I can't sit for 2 weeks at the train station. So, I think it's almost insulting to tell someone they have a pain threshold. You can say, wow, you're able to manage pain really well. So I've been ranting for a long time, but that's been my thought. Attends-toi, je vais prendre une photo, okay? Donne-moi 2 secondes, ne bouge pas. So I better go. It's